Please note that everything in the TSW3 column will also be available on day 1 for TSW4. Our intention is to release for TSW3 patches as soon as we can.
Yeah, we're gonna give it to you right away on Train Sim World 4 because we want your money. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. And you can't even make an excuse and say, well, it's not done, because if it wasn't done, why the hell is Train Sim World 4 getting it on the first day, you know? All right, you guys, part 2 of the roadmap. I told you we'd do it, and now I have a feeling I'm gonna be dreading this. It is 9:07 p.m., so we'll have to see what time I end up getting done this, because this is just as long as part 1. I was thinking about just skipping it, and I feel like a lot of what we're going to be reading through this is mostly stuff we already know, because they have already had a preview stream, and they've talked about features several times in different ways, and I just feel like this is kind of just gonna be like echoing things that we already know, but I know there are likely going to be little bits and pieces of brand new information a part of this. So I guess without further ado, let's just dive in. Let's see what this is about. There are a lot of video clips and stuff scattered throughout, so I don't know if we're gonna be watching the video clips or if we're going to be watching the clips and not reading through everything. But starting here, this is all in the very first part of the roadmap, so we don't need to read this. Of course, reiterating what we already know, the game comes out Tuesday, September 26th, and if you pre-order the deluxe or special editions, you get it on the 21st. Again, if you do not know, pre-ordering the standard edition will not get you early access. You have to pre-order the deluxe or special editions. Rolls eyes emoji, not surprised, honestly. They have the Dovetail Direct stream linked here if you want to watch this 2-hour and 3-minute reveal of everything that's coming. Gosh, I wish I would have watched and reacted to this live. It would have been like the best video. I had like the craziest reactions to a lot of things. Like some things excitement, some things just like, what? And there were parts where I was like, are you serious? Little upset at times, not gonna lie. Next time they do something like this, I'm watching it. We're watching it together. I'm gonna have a lot to say, but that ship has sailed. I've already seen it. We don't need to read this part either. They're just going over what they're going to be covering. PC editor, free roam, scenario planner 2.0, or what I would be calling 1.1, livery designer 2.0, formation designer, photo mode, new scoring, ease of access. So the first part was more so on the routes specifically, and this part is going to be more so on the features, the upgrades that are coming with Train Sim World 4, also known as the things or features we should have gotten with Train Sim World 3 as a free update without having to buy new routes to get these features. But that's just my opinion. I know sometimes I'm very opinionated. My opinions are a little strong, but hey, that's just how I feel. So I'm gonna lay it out on the table just like that. All right, Railfan TV schedule. Again, this was in the first one too. We already went over this. The PC editor showcase is up next, you guys. That's on September 5th. Oh, that's Tuesday. Oh, no, not me being super excited for this. I am, okay, I'm excited for that. I am very excited for that. That's probably one of the things I'm looking forward to the most. Then we've got Antelope Valley, Creative Tools, Dresden. There's a lot, guys. There's a lot. East Coast Mainline is gonna be one of the last things, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to see that soon. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on the Azuma, like in real life, just kind of getting a look and feel for what that logo is gonna be like. There's a lot of like in-cab stuff on YouTube of that. So like that's, you know, really, really exciting. All right, PC editor beta. There's a 13-minute video. We're not watching this. This is literally part of the Dovetail Direct. I've already seen it, so there's no point in reacting to it, but we have a whole bit just on the PC editor. So let's see what they're saying here. Wow, they're revealing a lot, it seems. I don't know if this is stuff that we already know or if there's new information, but let's check it out.
Way back in 2019, we spoke about our desire to bring the Unreal Engine for editor to PC players. Well, it's taken a little while, but we're delighted to be able to offer access to the PC editor beta to players with Train Sim World 4. But what is the editor, and what possibilities will it enable for you? Our executive producer Matt has the details.
Give us the details, Matt, but I want to say, like, I can't be the only one that's just disappointed with the fact that we're gonna need Train Sim World 4 for this. Like, it's a separate program, it's gonna be on the Epic Store, but you're gonna have to buy buy Train Sim World 4 or a Train Sim 4 World route to have access to it. I just feel like that's like not necessary. Like they didn't need to do that, you know? Again, what can you do? I mean, there is something we can do and is not buy it, but it's like, I'm just not gonna not buy it because I want the editor. I need the editor, like so bad. Literally one of the main reasons why I'm even interested in the 4th installment of this game, even though it's no different from the last couple at all.
What is the PC editor? Matt, Train Sim World is built using our heavily modified version of the Unreal Engine 4 editor. All the trains you drive and the routes you drive them on are built by the team with this tool. The PC editor we're talking about here is exactly that. It's a special build of the editor that works outside of our development environment but otherwise is identical and will let you create any content you like, exactly like our team does. Tell us a little bit about what players will be able to do with the PC editor. The PC editor allows you to create anything that works in the game, including new routes, new trains, new scenarios and even new timetables for service mode. The command line tools for running the simulations to create the timetables is all part of the package as well, as is the packaging tool used to create the package files that allow you to share your creations with friends.
Wow, so there are tools that basically take what we create to put into package files so that we can share them. So that's all included as well. I wonder if that's a separate program or if that's all part of the one thing that they're giving us with this editor.
You won't be able to modify existing content, however, because Unreal uses a process called cooking for content as part of the process to create the version that you get on Steam to play. This cooking process strips out a lot of data from files which is unnecessary to run the game and only necessary to edit it. As a result, those files can't be opened in the editor.
Yeah, this is what Matt was mentioning on the roadmap stream that one day. The whole cooking process and how some things cannot really be edited. And I guess I'm a little nervous with that because I feel like in a way that could limit creativity, but I don't want to speak on this and I can't speak on this much because I don't really know too much about what that entails.
We have done a lot of work to get around this in many cases so you can open cooked routes and fly around them. And you even play the entire game using the Play in Editor functionality, which means you can then use live debugging tools and so forth to review what you're doing.
That's cool, and I think we even saw that in one of their recent preview clips, that you could actually like play the game and play what you're doing in the editor, like you don't have to launch the game separately, and I thought that was really cool.
Creating entirely new routes and trains is perfectly possible, but adding to existing routes is going to be a challenge, as is tweaking trains. That said, we haven't put any specific blocks in anywhere, and one of the areas we plan to review going forward is where players are specifically looking for something to work, and we can try to make that happen to make it easier to do what you're looking for. Where assets are simply needed in source form, again, we're reviewing what the possibilities are to provide these in the future, and we'll be looking at your feedback to see where to prioritize this as well. Adding new scenarios and service modes to routes, however, is very much achievable and a really great place to start your editing journey, as you'll be amazed at how much you can achieve just there, and then take that and enhance your skills as you go.
That's literally exactly where I plan on starting, because I know I am going to suck terribly at creating routes and creating trains and that stuff, and that's going to be more of the challenge. And they even say here adding to existing routes is going to be a challenge as tweaking trains. So like route extensions, I guess, are possible, but they're going to be harder to achieve. But if you want to make new scenarios or create timetables for service mode for routes that already are complete, finished, baked, you know what I mean? That is going to be achievable, and it's going to be easier than the other stuff. And that's a good place to start to build your skills on these tools. And that's exactly where I am going to be starting 100%.
What functionality will it have on launch? We're ensuring that the scenario and service mode workflows work smoothly to get started. We don't foresee any problems with creation of new routes and trains, but fully expect creators to find limitations when it comes to attempting to modify existing content due to how the packaging system works on Unreal. We'll be listening to your feedback to see where we can help going forwards to make this as easy as possible.
See, I like that. Like, they know there are going to be some roadblocks with this whole Unreal Engine editor thing, but they're saying, hey, if we can help in any way, we will try. I don't know if this is just another empty promise from them, because because we know Dovetail Games, it really feels like for the most part, lots of empty promises with them. So it's like, I don't want to take this and go, oh my God, they're going to do it. I guess we don't know. We just need to wait and see. But they're saying here that they can help going forward to make this easier. So we'll just have to see. I guess it also does depend on the feedback, the player feedback, and what kind of feedback that they get from, users using this editor.
How easy is it to use? The Unreal Editor is a professional game development tool, and as such it's very short on wizards and guides built into the tool. You can quickly lose your way, or, more likely, struggle to even figure out where to get started. There's no simple, create new scenario button, for example. That said, there are a lot of great Unreal Engine tutorial videos on YouTube from Epic Games themselves that provide some fantastic guides to all areas of the main Unreal Engine, and we plan on creating several videos and articles that show you the specifics of Train Sim World's version of the editor as well. Read up, get your learn on, and once you get the hang of it, you'll find you can achieve great things with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. They're even saying there is no create a scenario button. Like, this is not a user-friendly thing that's meant for everyone to just dive in and take over with ease, It's going to be hard at first, and it's probably going to be a little frustrating, and I honestly am expecting that. I am nervous, but I know I'm going to have some help. I know we are going to have some help. Maybe not right away, but eventually. They do talk about there's tutorials and stuff online, but also, if I remember correctly, they mentioned they're going to post resources and stuff for us. I don't know to what extent that'll be, but that'll be helpful too.
It's been a long time coming. Why is now the right time to bring the editor to TSW? A couple of reasons really. The first is that we're stable with the core game now and are comfortable that there aren't going to be major breaking changes that will invalidate user creations going forwards. Since we first talked about the editor a few years ago, there were two major core upgrades, each of which would have wiped the community creations back to zero again, and numerous smaller changes that would have caused problems. There's a lot more stability now, which makes it a great time to get this out to creators.
See, that's something that I can understand. Could you imagine if you just spent all your time making a train or making a route or making a whole timetable, and then they pushed an update out and it just completely broke what you made, and it was impossible to recover and you had to start from scratch? I wouldn't want to create anything ever again. So it's that's a side and a perspective that I can definitely understand and respect.
The second reason that drove the team towards the release now is that there's a huge focus on putting the power to do whatever you want in Train Sim World 4 into the players' and creators' hands, whether it's on-the-fly creation with free roam or easy-to-use in-game tools like Scenario Planner, through to advanced creation tools like the PC editor. It was an obvious part of the puzzle as we developed this theme for the release. This is the beta of the editor. What does the future of developing the editor entail? We want to see what creators do, where they have problems, and what we can do to help. There may be a range of options available to solve problems that come up and ease the flow of making content for creators, so we're going to be looking at this feedback and working with players to see what we can do to help. That may involve finding ways to make more cooked content editable, providing source assets to use, or creating tutorials to show how those things are done in a clear way. We'll be led by you and what you tell us you need to make the best content in Train Sim World 4.
Man, I really hope so. I feel like they can do a lot of talking. They can really talk up a big game, but when it comes down to it, they've got to show us a big game. And honestly, you know what? We're gonna really hold them to it, and we have to hold them to it. They say these things in these articles, and why do they say it? They say it to sell a product, to get us to buy it. And once you buy it, with a lot of companies, gaming companies, for example, they just go ghost on you, They've got your money. They're not going to give you anything else. They're just going to cut corners and do the bare minimum, Well, we have to hold them to it, and we will. Honestly, out of these things that they list here, tutorials are going to be the best way to go. And finding ways to make more cooked content editable, that's going to be very important. Because route extensions are going to be a very popular thing, I feel like, at first, at least with interest. I feel like a lot of creators and editors, they're gonna want to extend a lot of routes, especially some of these routes that are very, very small, that shouldn't be as small as they are. I've already read in a Facebook group that I'm in, there are already plans to extend Boston to Providence, Northeast Corridor, down to New Haven, Connecticut. They're already planning to do it, before this is even out. And I'm just worried, is that going to be possible? And if so, is it going to be easy? How steep will the learning curve for something like that be? There's a lot of questions, a lot of what ifs, a lot of gray area, but hey, if Dovetail Games gonna help us, let's see it. Let's see the help. Let's not just talk about it, let's see it.
Will console players be able to enjoy player-made content in the future? We are striving towards that, but it's a very different and challenging path compared to the open PC platforms where files can be shared easily by creators and players.
I'm just gonna pause it here. This is never coming to console. I don't know why people would ever expect something like this to come to console, and honestly, if they're trying to put hope into their heads being console players, I don't think they should be doing that. That's gonna be false hope. This isn't gonna be coming to consoles, ever. If it took this long just to come to PC, and consoles don't have mod support or anything like that, they're not gonna have this. It's just the realistic answer here.
Our ultimate goal is to integrate the editor with Creators Club and provide a path that allows content to be uploaded there and made available to console owners, but there's a lot of challenges along this path to overcome. We'll also be working with the top creators to invite them to take their work to our third-party program, where of course it will be available to console players as normal.
Oh, interesting. The top creators, to invite them to take their work to our third-party program. Okay, so basically you're saying if a fan or a group of fans create a magnificent route and all sorts of things, then they'll release it as a normal route so that console players can buy it? Is that what they're saying? I have a lot of questions here with that. Interesting. But having stuff on Creators Club for consoles, that's a move that's possible. You know, PC has this editor, but then if you could post it on Creators Club and then a console player can download and play with it, that kind of makes sense. That's something I can actually see happening. But as far as console having the editor itself, I'm sorry, never in a million years. I don't see that happening.
Will there be support materials to help players use the tool more effectively? We'll be looking to create some tutorials and guides for content creation, starting with scenarios and service mode gameplay, and then we'll build that out based on what creators tell us they want to know. We'll also be inviting some of the best creators to share their tips and ideas and really encouraging the community to help each other as well.
Okay, so they're gonna start with tutorials and guides for at least scenarios and service mode, and I think that's a good place to start. I think that's a great place to start, because I feel like a lot of people, the first thing they're gonna wanna do is create for things that are already released, which is my idea.
Will this help to blood the next generation of TSW partner developers? Absolutely. The release of the editor means that there's every reason to start learning and creating and come to us with your ideas for content. We're keen to see what you create and will be very much looking to talk to creators about joining the third-party program and get your content shared with the widest possible audience. We'll also be looking out for creators who specialize in areas and may want to assist us as second-party developers working in specific areas to help our team on projects as well. So there's always opportunity to do more with your skills as you start developing them. Get in touch.
You know what? I'm gonna remember that. I'm a crazy scenario person when it comes to Train Sim Classic, and I feel like I'm gonna end up being the same for this game when I get my hands on this editor and these tools. And hey, if I can make a bunch of scenarios for some routes and they can just put them in, maybe make a scenario pack or something, I feel like that would be cool, you know? I wouldn't mind doing that. But I guess like that comes back to my question, are they going to be putting these things up for a price? And if people can download them and pay Dovetail for the work that, for example, I've made, if that happens, am I going to be compensated for that? Like, I have a lot of questions when it comes to that. I wonder if like it's just like a volunteer thing that I'm doing for fun, or if they end up distributing someone else's work, if they're going to pay them for it, you know, pay them for their time, which I would absolutely hope that they would, you know? A lot of time goes into making things for the game, whether it's something simple like a scenario or something more complex like a complete 24-hour timetable or an entire route, you know? All right, you guys, so that is it on PC Editor. We've already seen this image. We're not even going to read it. Wow, so we actually got a little bit of new information here with this, and of course I got to also share some points that I have yet to share. Up next is all about free roam, which I'm really excited to learn about this. They've talked about this quite a bit. The fact that this is going to work in conjunction with the freaking service mode, and you can spawn things down and the dispatcher is gonna be, you know, pulling you into the timetable and deciding who goes where and who has to wait. I love that. I do have questions with it, of course. I've mentioned before, is there a priority system? If there's an express passenger line and I throw down a freight train, am I gonna be held to wait? Am I gonna be put first? Like, how does it work? I've always wondered how the priority system in Train Sim World works in terms of the AI dispatcher anyways, but no one seems to know. I've never really gotten an answer from anyone that has worked on this game or from anything that I've seen on the forum. So I just wanna know how the dispatcher is going to work, especially in that aspect with using free roam in conjunction with service mode, you know? All right, so let's see what we've got here.
Another new feature we can't wait for you to try out. Our sandbox mode, enabling you to spawn anything on any route. It's off the rails mode on steroids.
Before I continue this, formation editor is coming eventually sometime in the future, and now using that and this, oh man, the possibilities. And you know, that's something that's been lacking, the possibilities with this game. I feel like there's not enough creative freedom, there aren't enough possibilities for what you want to do, what you imagine, but with that and this, I'm just thinking like the ultimate steroids trip, formation editor, free roam on top of service mode, lots of possibilities. Every run you do is never gonna be the same. And that's literally something that I have been asking for, I have been wanting for so long.
In a nutshell, what is free roam mode? Matt, sometimes you just want to take the train of your choice and do whatever you want with it. It's not about planning a scenario or doing a service, you just want to explore. Make it up as you go along. That's what free roam mode is about. Free roam mode will be available for your entire collection of routes and trains. Give us an example of a session you could do with free roam mode. Let's say you start on foot in Lindau and begin by spawning the Training Center 8F steam locomotive with some coaches in a platform. You set a path out to the yard just outside the station and drive the locomotive there. Upon arrival, you get out of the train, spawn some wagons and go back to your 8F. Uncouple the coaches and go get the wagons and then set a path to a yard further down the line. Along the way you see an interesting siding, and you feel like it'd be fun to collect some more wagons from there, so you stop nearby and then head over to it, spawn wagons, go back to your 8F and then adjust your path to take you into the yard for the new wagons. Once you've got them, you set a new path back out to the main line to continue. Another example that has been around since day one of the game is with the old sand patch grade route. We've long had free roam type scenarios that allow the player to switch cars in the yard and have the freedom to do anything they like there, but without the ability to leave the yard. Now you can leave the yard and go anywhere. It is important to note that there are no AI trains in the route while you're in free roam. This allows you complete flexibility to go anywhere and do anything.
But that's not where that stops. There's more to it, and that's what I like. If we're talking about just the empty map in free roam, that's personally not my thing. But there are players out there that want that sort of thing, and now they're going to actually have it. It actually works with service mode as well, and I hope Matt talks a little more about that coming up.
Why should players be excited? This is just unlimited freedom to take anything from your collection and do anything you like. You can start a journey and just decide to change it as you go because you see something interesting or just want to change things up. This is Sandbox Trains. What has initial feedback from beta players/staff playing the mode been like? Beta team have been really enjoying the flexibility it offers, allowing them to explore parts of the route without necessarily having to drive all the way there. It's also proven popular with the photographers in the team who will spawn on foot at interesting locations, spawn trains where they want them and take their shot. Going back to Sand Patch Grade again, how many hours did people spend operating trains to move them to get that perfect shot around the turntable in Cumberland? That's really easy to do now. How easy is it to use? Free roam is extremely easy to use. You're literally popping trains into existence wherever you want them and clicking on the map to literally say, I want to go here, and the sim will figure out points and signals for you automatically. What has been your personal favorite run when testing?
I really like that. You choose your destination on the map, so I'm pretty sure you just hit the 9 key, you go onto the map, you find where you want to stop, you go there, it sets your path, it sets the signals. I don't know if he's going to talk more about how it works with service mode, but that is so cool. So you go into service mode, you can spawn in on foot, and then you can place down your trains, like make yourself a part of that world. world. Like if you just want to do yard duties in sandbox mode, you know, place down a bunch of coaches, couple up, decouple, all of that stuff, but you want to do it in a yard and watch passenger trains and freight trains actually running the main line next to you in service mode, you can do that. Like there are just so many possibilities with that, and it's so exciting. Like this is like actual genuine excitement. Like most of the time I roll my eyes when I'm like, oh, that's coming, that should have been here a long time ago, and I feel like, yeah, this should have been here a long time ago. But with what we know about this so far, like I'm very impressed. I didn't think they would take it this far to make it implemented into service mode. I'm sorry, I didn't think they would go that extra mile. I just thought it would just be a sandbox by itself, no trains, just you, and then that was it. But no, I got lucky at least. I'm very happy about that.
I don't have any particular preferences when it comes to trains, so I've been doing all sorts with it, but I think my favorite aspect of it is that I can almost instantly, and without any planning effort, just try things out, like putting a class 101 DMU on Peak Forest. No need to think about a scenario, just spawn in a train, set a path and go.
Okay, here we go, this is it.
Can you spawn trains in timetable mode using free roam features? Yes, this is one of the most exciting features in the release, allowing you to take the living world of the normal timetable in service mode and add your own train to it and do what you want, in and around those trains. You'll really begin to appreciate the way the control system, known as the dispatcher, can guide you around dynamically in amongst those trains. Be careful though, with great power comes great responsibility. In reality, trains don't just spawn out of thin air, and this means you have the potential to throw the organized world into chaos. Sounds fun though, doesn't it? Experiment with it and enjoy the possibilities it brings.
Man, this sounds so exhilarating to me. Like we can make chaos if we want to. That is an option. Wow. Like I'm just like, you can really like cause the timetable to be at a complete halt. You can literally, pardon my language, fuck everything up if you really wanted to. Like you have the option to do so. Again, going back to what I said at the beginning of this video, I am so curious as to how the control system, the dispatcher, handles these trains. Is there a priority system? How does it work? Is it looking at the train type, passenger, freight? Is it looking at the fact that you have a timetable and you're just a free roam service? Are you never going to get priority over other trains, depending on what type of loco, what type of consist you are, what you're doing? Lots of questions, but like insane. Like this is so cool. I can already see myself doing like streams all the time where we just spawn in and play and see what happens, because it's going to be different every single time. The path you get, the signal aspects that you face, depending on what trains are out, what kinds of trains are in front of you, what's coming at you, the speed at which they're going. Like there are just so many layers to that, you know? Here's the free roam picture. Again, not gonna talk about it, we've already talked about it. Up next, guys, Scenario Planner 2.0, or what I call 1.1. Let's go.
Getting a long-awaited lick of paint are both Scenario Planner and Livery Designer, with some awesome new features to help you create great content more seamlessly for you and other players to enjoy. What new features are coming to Scenario Planner for TSW4? Can you explain a little about each? Matt, Scenario Planner 2.0 is reworked into a brand new user interface, bringing it more in line with the rest of the UI in the game, making it simpler to understand and easier to use. Beyond the UI changes, there's a range of new features and enhancements that will allow you to make more comprehensive scenarios as well. The changes begin at the very start of the tool. You can now set a description on the scenario, which used to be auto-generated, allowing you to add some personal flavor to it. Further, that description will now be shown at the beginning of the run when a player starts it, so you can also use it to set the scene for the player as well.
I've already mentioned this, but I'm gonna mention it again. Cute addition. Okay, cool. I like it. But that's it? One description box at the start of a scenario? No, I'm sorry. We should have options to place them at each station stop or waypoint or whatever you're putting down for your train, you know? Say things along the way, along the route of your journey. Like, I understand that's a good starting point, but like, we're how many years in a train sim world? It's kind of ridiculous to just be getting that, you know? Why are there so many limitations with this scenario planner? I feel like I would be more upset with this if we weren't getting an editor and the ability to make official scenarios the way that they do, but man, do I feel sad for the console players. Like, this is all they're getting. Like, they have to deal with this, and they definitely deserve more options than that, you know?
Creators can now set the start time of a scenario separately to the time the player's service starts, we think the primary use of this is going to be allowing the scenario to start 5 to 10 minutes before the player, to allow some action to get moving in front of the player or around the player before they set off. This will allow you to get another train to depart the same station as the player and get ahead of them, for example, to cause some non-green lights right from the start. Another massively requested feature from creators is being able to specifically set the time of year and the weather that the scenario will use. We've made the full dialogue of options available so you can choose dynamic weather, or set a specific custom pattern.
I know those were highly requested, the weather, glad that that's in, and also the start time of the scenario. I've always wanted to start it, have a train move out in front of me, and then I chase yellow and red signals. I've wanted scenarios like that, but before, you really couldn't do that unless you placed a train at like the next station stop after where you were, but sometimes even that distance was too far, and then that train would eventually just get farther away from you faster than you could catch up to it. You know what I'm saying? So there is some room here to kind of create more dynamics with the way your scenario works in terms of that. So that's a great thing.
The most important new feature in Scenario Planner 2.0 is that you can now chain paths together. So imagine on Vorarlberg line you could start in Lindau and run to Lustenau, then run from Lustenau to Bludenz, and then back from Bludenz back to Lindau. This allows you to create a much more diverse range of scenarios, including changing ends and so forth. Exciting stuff.
Pretty good feature. A little sad that this is gonna pretty much be a Train Sim World 4 route thing though. I'm pretty sure they mentioned before you aren't gonna be able to do the chain paths with older routes like Train Sim World 2 routes and stuff, which is kind of disappointing. Hopefully there's an update for that in the future, but I guess we don't know. Again, that's another thing that I've talked about previously.
Range of scenarios including changing ends and so forth. Exciting stuff. Lastly, we've made it so that AI trains can now start and end their journeys in portals, allowing for much easier AI usage on corridors. Previously you had to start all AI trains on a marker and end them there, and it became a challenge to balance out those start and end points when really the end goal was just to get something going in the other direction. Using portals, this is all now much easier. It's important to note that some features such as portal usage and chaining paths may only work on TSW4 routes, or may work to varying degrees on older routes depending on how they were originally set up.
Okay, so I'm glad they at least put that here at the end. It's also interesting that they put may only work. So it's not going to be only Train Sim 4 routes. It could work with older routes, but they list here that it depends on how those routes were set up. So you might be able to do it with some older routes. I guess you won't know until you try. Personally, for me, I'm gonna be looking to see what we can do on Boston to Providence, New York to Trenton. That's my zone. But even if it's not possible there for chaining paths and portals and all of that, I personally won't be too upset because I'm gonna have my hands on the editor to make official scenarios the way that they make them for us when they, release routes and stuff. So
why did we choose these features specifically? We spent time looking at what the community was doing with the tools, reading the numerous polls and forum posts about what the most requested features were, in our own wish list for where we wanted to take the system. What has been the most challenging part to develop? Chaining paths was the most challenging part to develop because it required a completely different take on the user interface to allow for the concept of a service not just doing one thing, but doing multiple things, and the implications for how that all had to work. It's also influenced how we make the scenario paths, since the paths have to have endpoints that can be joined together in this way too. What will this enable players to do with their own content? Creators should be able to make far more varied and interesting scenarios. You're already making an amazing range of content that's shared on Creators Club, and this will expand that greatly. The range of content we see on Creators Club already exceeds what we'd expected, and this is just going to make it even more fun and varied.
Personally, I feel like the scenarios that you can make, there's only so much you can do with them. I'm not a fan of them, but this is definitely going to take things a step further, and I will probably start looking at some scenarios to download and play through, seeing what people do with these new upgraded tools. Again, they have here AI portals and chain paths are just for Train Sim World 4 content. However, the remaining features are available for all add-ons and routes. So of course a disclaimer, but it's weird because above they put it may work on older routes, but here they have it's just for the new content only. So I thought that was a little interesting. I guess it's just gonna be trial and error. We're just gonna have to jump in and see if we can do some of those old things or not, of course. All right, on to Livery Designer. Personally, not super interested in this one, but I know a lot of you guys out there are, so let's see what they have to say about this.
In Train Sim World 4, alongside the sweep of changes coming to Creators Club, the livery designer has been revamped to better help the player create the best liveries they can with these new features. Our associate producer Kat has more details. What new features are coming to livery designer for TSW4? Kat, more layers. Before, the old livery designer had a max number of 300 layers for the player to place on their model. Now the max number has gone up to 1000 layers, allowing players to create much more detailed designs. Organized layer lists. Instead of placing all layers together in one long list, the layers will now be separated by the side of the model they're placed on. For example, layers placed on the front of the model will be listed separately from the layers listed on the back of the layers. With the layer number being increased, this organization will help players keep track of the components of their creations.
If you didn't think some of the stuff that was on Creators Club for liveries was detailed already with having 300 layers, now we are having over 3 times more of that. More than 3 times the amount of layers that we're currently allowed to have. Yeah, these creations are going to get better. I cannot wait to see what people have. I just hope there aren't so many layers that things start to lag and get bogged down. That is something that I'm a little concerned about, but I guess again, we'll just have to wait and see what that ends up doing. Maybe there might be a performance hit, maybe not. I don't know.
Type text, Livery Designer 2.0 will still have letters as selectable layers, but another feature has been added to extend on this. Players will now be able to type out full words and preview them before placing them onto their models. This will make the task of adding text a lot easier by taking out the pain of placing and size individual letters together.
Hell yeah, this will make it really easy. You know, I might actually play around with the livery designer. I might make a pixelated rail train. Like, we'll have one designed based after the logo and theme of this channel. I don't know, I might sit down and do that. That sounds kind of fun, actually.
Why did we choose these features specifically? These features were chosen to help our players create the types of liveries they want. From observing what people have been sharing on Creators Club, we have an in-depth idea of what kind of creations they want to make, and so we added the new features to help them. What has been the most challenging part to develop? The most challenging parts to develop on the new livery designer has been the updated UI and the type text feature. The new UI overlay is a lot more detailed than the previous one, and it has provided challenges for the UI to make sure the player experience hasn't been impacted negatively by the changes. Type text has been a new challenge for the engineering team, and whilst there were teething issues, we are ecstatic with the results and excited to see what players will create.
Yeah, the creations are going to be interesting. There's going to be some good stuff out there. I can't wait to dive into it. Photo mode, guys. I am actually kind of excited for this. They were playing around with this on the preview stream for the Austria-Germany route. It looked freaking cool. The depth of field sliders, field of view, camera rotation. Like, you don't need a video editing software and you can save your screenshots directly through the game and all of that. Like, I'm excited.
Strike a pose. Ever had that moment where you've seen the perfect railfan opportunity slip through your fingers as you were traveling too quickly, or worried about operating your train? With photo mode, you'll have the freedom to take amazing screenshots, for both your personal use and to share off your creation. Kat's back with more. In a nutshell, what is photo mode? Kat, photo mode is a game feature new to Train Sim World. With this mode, the player can pause mid-game and switch to a camera view that they can position in the paused world to get the best shot they can. They can also adjust the image by changing the contrast, saturation, brightness, and camera focus. How can players access it? Players can access photo mode through the pause menu. After the player has taken all their shots, they can back out of the mode the same way they back out of the pause menu.
Yeah, it's not just a photo editing tool. It's you can just stop in the middle of your run, move the camera wherever you want in a 3-dimensional space and take your picture. So you can get the perfect shot at any time from any angle. Pretty cool. Should have been something that was introduced previously. Should have been something added for free to Train Sim World 3, but here we are.
What can they do with their new railfan shots? These images can then be uploaded to Dovetail Live and used as images to be used in Creators Club when uploading a new creation. What's been your favorite shot taken so far? So far, my favorite shot has been one of the Azuma Loco when I was capturing shots for the menu UI. You can see this shot in game on the main menu on the to the trains button.
Okay, so some of the new graphics and images for the UI were taken using this new photo mode. That's pretty cool. All right, we've got a new scoring system with Train Sim World 4, and Matt has talked about it quite a bit on a couple of the streams, and there's a lot that I actually want to say about that preview stream. I did watch it. I had some comments. You know, I like the new minimal HUD. I like seeing, you know, the speed limits and signals moving towards you on a line. I like that, but I have some questions. How come we don't see stations on there? I really hope to see stations on there. I believe Matt did bring that up for a moment, and he said it's currently not on there now. I guess they didn't want it to be too cluttered, but they're gonna be looking at feedback. So if you guys wanna see stations on that little thing, put it in on the forums. Let them know. I know I'm going to be mentioning it on the forums, and I'm going to be talking about it right here a lot in these videos. But yeah, I really don't see how things can be too cluttered. And they don't even have to make it a big icon. It could just be like a little white triangle, you know, like, or a house or something, you know, something that signifies a building or a roof that you can relate to being a station. So let's see what they're saying here about the brand new scoring system.
With Train Sim World 4, we want to reward driving expertise, so we've shaken up our scoring system. Matt returns with the finer details. Why did we feel like we needed to change the scoring system? Matt, over the years we've found the scoring system has needed improvement when it comes to rewarding scores based on better driving standards. It was giving so many points for an accurate stop that was on time that it basically made no sense to stick to speed limits for the sake of getting those accurate time points. Scoring is important. It's popular with a lot of our players, and they use it to get some second opinion of how their journey went and how it compares to previous journeys they've done or their friends have done. It's not for everyone, and that's why we have now added a setting option to turn OFF the score display, but for the majority that do, it's very important.
I usually have it off. I will want a good score. I will want my gold medals, but I don't want to constantly see it there updating. I'm constantly looking at it. I'm constantly worrying about it. And my focus needs to be on the tracks ahead of me and the train that I'm in. So I'll worry about the score later, but I will do my best in this very moment as I'm driving this train to get the possible score and to constantly be earning the most points that I can earn in that moment, you know, instead of staring at it and worrying about it, because then I start losing focus of what I'm supposed to be paying attention to. So I usually disable it with some keybinds, but now there is a offsetting in the settings menu, which I don't think was actually there before, because that's not how I turned it off with Train Sim World 3. Also, I'm worried about the scoring system. You get extra points for using safety systems. On Northeast Corridor, New York to Trenton, they don't work. They literally don't work. Also, in the ACS 64, the display brightness on the screen is like so dark, you can't even see how fast you're going. So if you're using minimal HUD, how do you see your speed? There's so many like inconsistencies with this. Like there are so many issues and bugs that prevent these new features from being used in the way that they're meant to be used. Issues with the safety systems on specific routes, a lot of American stuff, I'm not gonna lie, they seem to put a lot of attention to detail in the safety systems and signals and stuff when it comes to UK stuff, Germany stuff, but when it comes to US stuff, afterthought every single time. It's always broken. We'll look into it. Nothing ever happens. No patch ever comes. The pantographs on the trains are still not even touching. Literally, the pantographs do not work on Trenton still. This was brought up and addressed literally during the preview stream for that route when it was released at the beginning of the year. Nothing, no patch, and they are probably going to end up just abandoning it. It's stuff like that, you know? Randomly getting emergency braked or slowdowns when you're not supposed to be slowing down. It's signals that are not supposed to be displaying the aspect they're displaying, and then you're late. So you get extra points for following safety systems and having them on, but now you're gonna be late to your station and you're gonna lose timeliness points. So it's like, you can't win with some of these routes, especially with things that are broken. I've talked about this before, but of course I'm gonna bring it up here again.
Please give a brief summary of how we're improving it for both advanced and newer players. We've put a lot less reward in for your accurate stops and for on-time stops and balanced that with the ability to get more points for the ride in between. If you run with safety systems on, you'll get even more points during the run, and we'll also give you a few extra points for making sure the headlights and such are set correctly too. Is it raining? Get those wipers on. Because of how the scores have been adjusted, we wanted to acknowledge that there are a lot of players who simply aren't interested in using safety systems but still want to feel good about their runs because they're doing well in every other aspect. So we've added a new medal tier, Platinum, which is for those who do great but do so with safety systems on. If you don't want to use safety systems, you'll still be able to earn a gold medal. Can you run us through an example, please? You earn 30 points per quarter mile that you drive within the limit, and another 30 if you do that with safety systems on, with another 5 if the train is set up correctly, so your maximum per quarter mile is 65 points, used to just be the 30.
Wow.
If you drive a little over the limit, you'll lose half of it. If you drive more than a little over the limit, you'll lose the lot and won't gain any new points at all until you get back within the speed limit again. If it's raining and you don't have the wipers on, you'll lose a small percentage of your earned points each quarter mile until you put the wipers on. If you are coupling to another vehicle and you do so too hard, that'll take out some of the points you get for completing that coupling objective too, so be gentle. Stop accuracy bonuses have gone from 500 to 160, and the on-time bonus has gone from 500 down to 80, both scaled according to how far from ideal you are.
I like that actually. I feel like they put so much effort into being on time that you were always worrying about being on time, but now it's less of an issue. Of course, accuracy matters nowhere near as much, from 500 down to 160, and on-time bonus goes from 500 down to 80. I kinda like that. I'm not gonna lie, I kinda like that because they want you to focus on driving the train correctly. When it comes down to it, safety is more important than being on time. It just is. That's just the truth. And they're really showing that here with these changes, reflecting that into the game. Earning double the amount of points or more than double the points, having safety systems on. Okay, well, if they're adding this, I hope we get safety system tutorials for every train and every route because we currently don't have that. I know that as a fact. We do for some stuff, but not everything, you know? I'm assuming that with Train Sim World 4 content, we're probably gonna have tutorials and stuff for all of that stuff.
Is this only for TSW4 content? Since this is a new scoring system, it has to be applied to content specifically, so we will be using it on TSW4 content from now on. Older content will still use the original scoring system.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought this would be for everything. That's interesting. Oh, because I was just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I have hundreds of gold medals on certain routes. It'd be fun to go back and try to get platinum on them too. But now it kind of invalidates everything that I've said earlier, pretty much with, well, what about the routes that are broken? Yeah, this is them like pretty much saying, yeah, it's not gonna work on that kind of stuff, I guess. But also, hey, if this is a thing going forward, they gotta make sure these safety systems work. You know, they gotta make sure you can really get the maximum amount of points possible. Their stuff's gotta work for that. You know, if you're following safety systems and you wanna be on time. Interesting. I think that's a good thing, but I am a little disappointed because I feel like there are some older routes where things aren't broken, you know? And I'd love to try to earn platinum medals on older routes, but TSW4 content from now on, I guess.
What would a player need to do in order to achieve the new platinum tier of medals? The platinum medal tier is there for those who excel at the drive while also using the safety systems. With these new changes to scoring, we've also been able to implement a fix for all unachievable gold medals that will be available from the launch of Train Sim World 4.
This is something that people have been asking for a very long time. There are a lot of services, especially yard move services, where you just get like bronze every time. You do everything right, you don't speed, you make all your stops, the accuracy's perfect, the time is perfect, yet you just get a bronze medal. You can't win. So I'm hoping this is something that also applies for the older routes as well, and we can go back and get those gold medals. So I am for sure excited about that. And of course, we've seen this screen before many, many times. All right, ease of access improvements. There's a lot here, guys. A lot is covered in this section. So I think we're gonna learn quite a bit of new info from this.
Whilst for a lot of you, your first experience of Train Sim World is a distant memory. However, we're continuing to improve a TSW newbie's first time playing the game, and we've also bundled in some UI and accessibility improvements we think all players will enjoy too. What do we mean by ease of access improvements? Matt, this covers a range of different topics, but it's really all about just making the game more understandable, helping players find things to do that they will be comfortable they can achieve, and then trying to give them some more help when they're actually in the cab. Trains and railways are both hard, much harder than is apparent until you're actually in the hot seat and someone's saying, now shut this cab down, change that junction and put the train over there. This covers a difficulty rating for each train similar to how scenarios work, so that you can readily tell if a train is easier to drive, like a Class 375, or harder, like a BR-143 or US Freight Loco. Scenarios now tell you what makes up their difficulty rating so that you can better determine if it contains something you're not comfortable with, or something you particularly enjoy, such as changing cab ends, adverse signals, etc. Automatically setting some of the in-game settings so that the experience more matches whether you pick beginner, expert, or the new, standard, level when you create your profile, but everything remains customizable so you can tune to your preference, of course.
I like that. So there's like presets that you choose when creating your profile, beginner, expert, or standard, and it's gonna change the settings in your settings menu to reflect that preset you picked. I really, really like that. And seeing what scenarios contain before you pick them, I like that too.
Adding the Class 323 and 8F to the training center and reworking tutorials to use these trains, along with the existing Class 66, for a better onboarding experience and getting basic passenger tutorials and changing cab end tutorials into the training center fundamentals. Adding gates to train controls so that you can't accidentally put the train in a bad place. Some trains will let you easily slide it into emergency brake, which can then be awkward to get out of again. With these gates in place, you'll need to release and reapply the control to get it to go into that emergency state. A simplified HUD for beginners, which removes some of the more advanced information and cleans the screen up, allowing more immersion with the in-game cab while still providing the basic essentials. A minimal HUD for all users that provides only the basic objective information required to understand the task at hand, and removing all other HUD elements, firmly placing your immersion in the train but still allowing you to complete tasks without having to actually learn routes fully. I'm particularly excited by this feature as I like to play without the HUD, but I simply don't have the time to sit and learn every route to that required level.
And that is a major issue for a lot of players, including myself. Route learning is hard and it does take time, and when you're playing so many different routes and you take a break from one and you go back, and it kind of feels like you gotta brush up on things again, you know? Stopping distances and all of that stuff. And this minimal HUD makes that whole process much easier. But like I mentioned earlier, some of these trains here, the inside of the cab is all dark, and it's so dark you can't even read the speedometer, and it's like, well, how do you see how fast you're going? You don't, you know? So there's like little things like that that I'm kind of worried about. But the idea of it, you know, seeing this here, things moving towards you, signals, speed limits, your current speed limit in digital format shown here, incline, decline for gradients. Also, you don't have to show what the signal aspects are coming up. You could have them just say a signal, and you actually have to look out the window for what that signal aspect is displaying. You know, I like that sort of thing.
For those that do want to turn everything off, the F1 key used to toggle this, a button on controller, also does it. However, when you do that, it also turns off the useful tips telling you where controls are at as you move them. We've added an off state to the HUD setting, which turns everything off, but leaves the tooltip still able to show.
That is very important. I'm so happy they've done that. That's great.
For those that do want to turn everything off, the F1 key used to reset train simulation physics in the pause menu. Have you ever got to a state in a train where no matter what you do, you just can't get the thing to move?
I was wondering why you pronounced physics like that. It's spelled wrong. They got a little typo in here.
Like the brakes seem stuck on or something. Many trains have completely realistic functions that, if misused, can create problems for those inexperienced. A good example of this is that on many trains, if you pull the brake into the release state and hold it there, you are actually overcharging the brake pipe beyond the normal 5 bar, a useful function in reality for various reasons, but can then mean it takes extra time to get the train moving, since that needs to come naturally back to the 5 bar again. There's a new function in the pause menu that will let you reset the train simulation physics to how they were at the beginning of the scenario, so if things have gone strange for you and you can't see what to do, hit that button and it should sort itself out.
Yeah, they showed a little bit of that off in the preview stream for the Austrian route the other day. And, well, actually, they didn't show it off, sorry. I believe they just like hovered over it and Matt talked about it for a minute or two, but that's a good thing. I'm very happy with the ease of access improvements.
Missing a station will just carry on to the next one. Have you ever missed a station in Train Sim World?
Yeah.
Personally, of course, I've never missed any stations, but I hear stories from those who have all the time. Train Sim World has frankly never dealt with this very well.
Matt, that's a damn lie.
Well, In some cases you could stop and reverse back, but in many cases the signaling either wouldn't let you reverse, or if you did you'd end up stuck at a red not able to depart again. We've fixed this. If you miss a station it will fail the objective and move on to the next one. Just carry on to complete your ride, or press pause, rage a little, and try again. As I say, not that I have experience.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, right. Is this Matt talking? Hold on, we need to look around. Is this Matt talking? Yeah, it's Matt talking. Matt. Love that for him. I like that because yeah, your train would get stuck. You can go back, but sometimes you get that issue where it says your train appears to be off path, and then you're fucked basically, you know? But things are different now with this. Things are very different. So I'm assuming you will just lose out on the points that you would get. So you would lose the 160 plus the 80, right? From earlier.
The next couple of new assist features are intended to make life easier for everyone. Some will see these as actually making it more realistic, while others may prefer to turn them off and continue doing the actions manually. It's all your choice. Coupling and uncoupling can now be set to be semi-automatic. If it's enabled, then when you need to couple to some wagons just buffer up to them and they'll couple regardless of what type of coupling they are. US auto couplings do this anyway, but now this will apply to every type of coupling. If it's disabled, the behavior is as previously with manual couplings still requiring player interaction. For uncoupling, when enabled you simply stop in the siding you need to uncouple in and it will pop up a prompt. Press the indicated button and the uncouple will be done for you immediately. Again, turn the setting off if you want to revert to previous manual behavior.
I liked the previous manual behavior. That was the realism of it all. I loved that. I personally will be keeping the manual, but I like that it's an option for those that want it to be automatic, you know? Give options for all the different kinds of players that are gonna be playing the game. Variation is good.
Navigating in yards is one of my favorite things, moving back and forth to get to the right places, but in reality it's not the driver who's doing this. It's someone in the yard working with you. It's also confusing for new players who may not even appreciate the need to set junctions manually if they've become used to mainline operation where it's all done automatically. With this option enabled, all those junctions get set for you automatically now in yards. Combining these two functions, coupling/uncoupling and yard junctions, together means that switching/shunting can be much simpler, moving back and forth as needed, and we've already had feedback that for some of the beta testers it makes those types of services more enjoyable.
Again, it comes down to what kind of player you are. If you hate shunting stuff, this will make it more enjoyable and you might end up liking that kind of stuff more, you know? But if you like the realism of doing everything manually, like me, even though I don't prefer shunting stuff, that's an option too. Give us all the options.
Tutorial recommendations. Lastly, you're going to get advised of where tutorials haven't been completed that we feel would be useful as prerequisites for a particular service or scenario. Don't worry though, you can turn them off. How do we determine a locomotive's difficulty tiering? What types of controls does it have, such as a simple single control combined handle, or a more complex multiple handle system? How much do you need to do normal operations with the train, like cutting in brakes, or is it just get in and go? How easy are the brakes to operate? Does it have any limitations or behaviors such as cutouts that might make it more of a challenge to operate? A variety of cases are considered to help guide you towards trains you can achieve success with. Of course, this is just guidance. You can still pick any train at any time, but with this setting you at least know what you're potentially getting yourself in for.
More transparency. You don't have to jump in and go, oh, this is too hard. You can just see that from the main menu now, so you don't have to waste your time. It seems like they're really tailoring this more towards like beginners, making it an easier experience for those players, and I guess that's a good thing.
Are these changes customizable in the settings menu? The settings and accessibility menus have been expanded considerably with more options, and there's also a new player assist menu with more options on there too. How can they benefit both new players and hardcore players alike? Hopefully you can gather from the range of new features and changes outlined above that there's something interesting and useful for players of all experiences in the game. New players will find their journey into trains a more predictable and understandable one. Intermediate players have ways to ramp up the authenticity of the experience, and advanced players can really aim for that real driver experience. What accessibility changes have we made? One of the consistent bits of feedback that we've had from players with a wide range of accessibility issues is that it would just be so much easier if we had a consistent and complete range of key mappings that worked across the trains. Far too often there are essential functions on trains that are not operable from the keyboard and require fine access to operate controls or screens within the trains themselves, and for some players that simply makes the train inaccessible to them. We've gone through and added a vast range of new key mappings that are all rebindable and should cover just about every option in trains. Whether you use the keyboard itself to drive them, or plug in external hardware such as big buttons etc. to issue the key presses, you should now find this significantly more usable and complete.
Yeah, they talked about this in the Austria route preview a little bit too. Lots more in terms of key bindings and options there. We've seen this picture before. Ease of access improvements, of course, they just go into more detail on all of these points here in this blog post. And we have haptics. This is for our console friends. If you play on consoles, I don't know which one specifically, but this will create a much more immersive experience.
All new for Train Sim World 4, haptics are a great way to bolster your immersion whilst playing the game on a controller. What are they, and how are we using them? We spoke to our associate producer Jordan for the details. What do we mean by haptics? Jordan, what we mean by haptics is the functionality of the controller vibrating during certain events, and even light bar and speaker support on certain platforms. Haptics really helps to provide a sensation representative of actions happening in-game. What haptics have we implemented for TSW4? Train Sim World haptics include track rumble vibration, throttle and brake level vibration, collision with buffers/couplings vibration, track switches interaction vibration, hovering over interactable controls in the cabs vibration, train safety system alerts via controller speaker. Next signal aspect shown on light bar.
Should have been here a while ago, but cool improvements. I'll give them that, okay? I'll give them that.
Are there any differences between different platforms? The only difference is that the controller speaker and light bar support is for PS4 and PS5 only, as the other controllers do not contain those features. Is this only for TSW4 content? The only thing that will only work on TSW4 content is the train safety system alerts via the controller speaker. All the other haptics functionality will work on everything when played in Train Sim World 4.
Okay, that's good at least. They're not, limiting all these things on this bullet list to Train Sim World 4. Just the alert safety system sounds on the speaker.
Why should players be excited for the changes? Players should be very excited for this feature as it adds a whole nother level of immersion when playing Train Sim World 4. When things are at the toughest with safety systems sounding and red signals up ahead, the visual and audio feedback from the controller really helps to make you feel more in control about the decisions you make driving trains, to better be able to react to things happening around you. The vibration on the controller aids with the sense of driving the trains from the comfort of sofa. All of these haptics can be amended in the gamepad settings menu, to either increase or decrease the intensity of vibration, the volume of audio and the brightness of the light bar, and even disable some of them if want.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. Lots of options for even customizing these things. That's cool. All right, guys, we're on to fog up next. Volumetric fog. They've talked about this many, many times. We've even gotten to see a little bit of it in the latest preview stream for the Austrian route yet once again. And it's really freaking cool. It is really freaking cool. The whole world seems to come alive, especially at night when it's foggy, because if there's any light sources, you see the fog around the lights, but then you don't really see it elsewhere unless you got your headlights on and then you see it right in front of you reflecting directly back at you. It is so realistic. I actually really fuck with it.
Fangirling aside, volumetric fog provides a really important depth to our graphics, and also means headlights can be hindrances, rather than helps in certain conditions, as in real life. Let's check in with our senior software engineer Alex. What benefits do volumetric fog provide players? Alex, whereas previously fog could have only one brightness across the scene, volumetric fog allows fog to be lit up by various individual lights in the world. This allows the sun to cast God rays at sunrise/sunset, as well as train headlights and some scenery to produce beams of light when it gets dark.
Apparently, I'm hearing through the grapevine, I don't know how true this is, that any route that has TOD 4 lighting, which all Train Sim World 3 routes have, they can have this volumetric fog toggle turned on. So it's sounding like Train Sim World 3 routes will have this too, which I'm excited about because, hello, New York Trenton, that's like my route. I'm really hoping that's the case and that that's true because I can't wait to see sunrises and sunsets with the volumetric fog on that route. route. Oh my gosh. Really looking forward to that if that's true.
Do we have any shots of how volumetric fog makes a difference to a route's feel? Is this only for TSW4 content? Volumetric fog has been built on top of TOD4, the lighting system introduced in TSW3, to take advantage of the physically based lighting setup.
This also kind of really solidifies the fact that this should have just been a free patch for Train Sim World 3. This should not be in Train Sim World 4. You're literally admitting that it's built on top of TOD 4, the Train Sim World 3 infamous lighting system. You could have patched it to that game, but it's gonna be a part of an upcharge for a new game, of course. It's unnecessary, but it looks good. You can really see that fog under all of these light sources. It looks fan-freaking-tastic. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to have your high beams on, especially when it's really foggy. I think in the preview stream, the fog was set to like halfway and you couldn't see anything if you had your high beams on. Like, it was hard, you know? And that's how it is in real life. That's realistic.
It's therefore compatible with more recent routes, broadly, those released for TSW3 onwards.
Yes.
Will it impact performance? As volumetric fog is inherently a more expensive technique, it will have a slight performance impact. For this reason, it's available exclusively on PC and more powerful console hardware, PS5, Xbox Series X/S and Xbox One X.
Oh.
It can also be toggled in settings for those who prefer higher frame rates.
That's cool. So you can turn it off if you want to, if you don't want the frame rate hit or if you don't care for it. But PS4 people, you're not getting it. And honestly, I can see them limiting stuff now. This is a lot of power. And you know what? If you want the best graphics and you want it to also run optimally while looking the best, you're gonna need to have the latest systems. Sorry, I don't make the rules.
Fog isn't the only feature filling the room. Let's play it loud with our fabulous new sounds and audio.
All right, coming down to one of the last sections, we have sounds and audio. This is very important, at least for me. We've got some new pictures, some new information on demos and how they capture samples and all of that stuff. So let's just dive in.
Sounds and audio. With Train Sim World 4, we've really pushed the boat, or train, out with our recording and mixing audio, getting real-life recordings from visits to Metrolink in California, Siemens in Germany, and, of course, Scotsman in its pomp. Members from our audio design team, Dale, Ryan and Matthew, are here to tell us all about the making of the audio for TSW4. What was it like working with our licensed partners to get the recordings? Ryan, working with our licensed partners was a really positive experience. Everyone out in LA was so into what we were doing and allowed us great access into parts of the train we otherwise would never have experienced and captured for the game. Metrolink were a vital resource and continue to be with us throughout implementation. Matthew, working with LNER couldn't have been any smoother. They were extremely helpful and interested in what we were doing, and were eager to help in any way they could.
This is sounding a lot like the LNER sounds are gonna be really good for that Azuma then.
They were very facilitating for performing all sorts of weird and wacky maneuvers so that we could get any number of audio possibilities for relays, shutoffs, squeaks and creaks, which helped really bring a loco to life. Also, big shout out to the experts from Metrolink who have been invaluable help for working on the F125 and ROTEMs and in providing feedback. What techniques did the team need to employ to ensure as authentic a recording as possible?
This is a trip that I would love to go on, seeing the trains in real life, bringing my camera, taking pictures, recording audio samples. It's so funny because I don't work for Dovetail. I'm not trying to hint at anything. My nose is really itchy today, but this is my gig. I do audio mixing, audio stuff. I'm a photographer, video content creation, video editing. I do this full time. I have multiple channels. I could just imagine if this was my job, oh my gosh, it would be so cool. These people that get to go and do this stuff and be around trains all day, as much as I love trains, that would such a treat.
We've recently purchased new recorders, the Zoom F3S, which have been used for these recordings. Our first time capturing audio in 32-bit floating point, which is perfect for recording locomotives as it mitigates any distortion from loud sounds.
Oh really? They're capturing audio for the first time in 32-bit float? Man, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear that on my studio setup.
Sounds.
I'm an audio nerd, okay?
Ryan, Techniques that were employed to capture authentic recordings included stereo X/Y pattern mics inside the cab to reference the driver's perspective and using a shotgun mic on close-up interactable features like levers, buttons, and switches.
Oh, this is up my alley. See, I know all this terminology. I record YouTube videos with a Neumann mic. They're nice microphones, Germany made. So trust me, when I tell you audio is precious to me, it's very important to me. I am very much an audiophile.
We also utilized extremely high-quality condenser microphones, attached via magnets and cable ties within windshields to the undersides of cabs and passenger cars pointed at the wheels/axles to capture running sounds at all speeds. These were recorded using Zoom F3s, which are specially made for failure-free field recording.
Oh, these sounds are gonna be good. I can't wait to hear them. I'm getting way too excited.
The input signal is recorded in 32-bit float wave format, which can retain the resolution at the time of recording and reproduces sound without degradation, retaining the original resolution even after normalization processing after recording.
Hell yeah, keep it in wave. Uncompressed audio for the win.
Finally, we utilized mid-side recording techniques for every horn in order to have more control over the width of our stereo image whilst still maintaining a high-quality center image, perfect for our horns.
It's gonna be so good. I'm getting too excited. Look at the way they have this thing duct taped down onto the floor of this logo. Oh man. Yeah, they got two set up here, assuming because they're gonna do the stereo pickup. Man, this is cool. This is cool stuff to learn about. This is so interesting.
How many recordings and images did we take in the Metrolink trip in total? 9,073 photos taken and 55 hours of audio recorded.
Imagine how much time and how much work it's going to require to unpack all of that, all those pictures and all those hours of audio, and edit it and implement it in however many ways it needs to be done in. Like, that's just absolutely insane.
What has been the most challenging part of collecting the source material? Ryan, the most challenging part of collecting the source material was probably the long hours in hot cab cars with little sleep plus jet lag. The level of detail we have to capture can sometimes take hours in one spot, and a lot of time and patience is required from both parties. Making sure you remember to eat and drink can be quite hard. Matthew, probably the most challenging part for me was helping organize the logistics of the trip for recording. It was only my second week on the job, but I was in charge of verifying all the equipment and transporting it to and from site each day as I was driving us around. Needless to say, I was paranoid I'd forgotten something for the entire week.
Yeah, that sounds stressful. I would also be pretty paranoid too.
Do you have any fun anecdotes from your trips? Dale, some recording equipment was sent to Austria for recording the Vectron, and it actually all got stuck in customs and couldn't be used. Ryan, one time when we were recording the internal aircon sounds for the Rotom passenger cars, we had all the doors shut and everyone off, so we shut the power down to record the sound of the AC kicking in, but after a long delay we had realized we were locked in with no way out for a while. Matthew, our guide at the LNR depot in Edinburgh, had one of the thickest Fife accents I've ever heard. Now I'm Scottish and I could barely understand him, so I have no idea how Adam kept up.
Oh my gosh. These trips sound like a lot.
What work needs to happen after the recordings have taken place? Dale, upon returning, all 55 hours of audio needs to be downloaded from SD cards and cataloged for our library. Listening through each recording can be a bit laborious, as some of them can be especially long, such as the recordings from the bogies, as we need to identify in the recordings what sounds each recorder captured. Then we embark on the process of editing out each individual sound, cleaning the sounds, making loops if necessary, and then implementing them in Engine.
Gosh, these all just sound like very tedious projects.
Which is your favorite train from the TSW4, audio-wise? Dale, the Vectron for its beauty of a horn. Shout out to Lucas for a great capture on his debut recording trip.
We heard that in the preview stream. I don't know how similar that is to how it sounds in real life in terms of accuracy, but in terms of sound quality, it sounded superb. Like, the quality of it was amazing. Didn't sound like a model toy train horn. It had power, it had a great loop, it had some ambience, some reverb to it, some atmosphere. It was absolutely perfect. Something the Acela Express needs a little refresher on. That horn is tragic that it ships with, but that's a conversation for another video.
My favorite is the F125 because it's big and cool. Matthew, the F125. It's loud and has loads of character. And to complement the sounds, how could we not include the beautiful music by Ben Simons?
And I believe this is the last part of this blog post. You guys, the music is insane. I am worried about copyright. I think we are going to skip out on watching that video because I believe we watched a little bit of it in part 1 of the roadmap. The music was kind of shown with other things, but a lot is described here in text, so let's get into that.
TSW4 music. Not content though with just authentic sounds, we've gone ham on the menu music and audio cues in-game with Train Sim World 4. If you watched the first 5 minutes of Dovetail Direct on Tuesday, the City of Rochester Symphony Orchestra, how good were they, by the way, gave an emotive rendition of the new track. At the center of it, senior community manager cum composer Ben has the details on how we made the iconic soundscape of TSW4. What did you have to consider when creating the music for Train Sim World 4? Ben, I'm very lucky in the sense that I'm given the freedom to create and write what feels right to me. That doesn't make the process challenge-free. I'm very good at getting in my own way and making things difficult for myself. When I found out we were releasing Train Sim World 4, I started writing the main theme before I'd even been asked to. I had an idea in mind, and I wanted to make that a reality before anything else got in the way. I knew instinctively that I wanted to maintain the theme and motif I developed for the previous iteration of Train Sim World because players had grown attached to that. So had I, to be honest. I also knew that I wanted to expand on that and take the piece in new directions, introduce some new thematic ideas, and go bigger in terms of the overall scale.
Oh yeah, it is very cinematic to say the least. Very cinematic, it's gorgeous.
From my perspective, that posed a challenge because, at its core, Train Sim World 4 is a hobbyist game. So, although I wanted the sound to be rousing and inspiring, and for it to instill a sense of growing excitement for the journey ahead, I didn't want to hype our players up into a frenzy and get them ready to go to war in an action-packed FPS.
And that's very important.
I think we've successfully navigated away from the ambient soundscape of Train Sim World 3, which was primarily comprised of very gentle piano, ambient pads, and soundscapes, to the full orchestra, piano, and choir of Train Sim World 4. I'm proud that everyone at Dovetail Games has loved the theme so much that it's inspired all the other music in the game, prompted us to create a soundtrack as a pre-order benefit on Steam and Epic, and enabled us to film a full music video with the City of Rochester Symphony Orchestra in support of our marketing efforts.
Yeah, I like that. So the pre-order for Steam and Epic, is that just special edition? Please tell me it's deluxe. I want that soundtrack for the deluxe. I need that soundtrack download for the deluxe. Also, is it going to be on streaming platforms too? That's another question I have.
Do you have any favorite tracks or moments in the score and/or game? E.g. a scene or character you connected with through the music, or a particular musical moment or experience in the game? I do. I mentioned that I'd also created the in-game music this time, and we had the idea to create moments for our players. To briefly explain what moments are, each of our 5 new train routes has scenarios, which are situation-based, condensed experiences for our players. For each route, one of these scenarios will have a unique moment, where music is at the center of the action.
They mentioned this. I think it was on the roadmap stream or something. They mentioned this, and I wanted to talk more about it. One scenario has a music moment. I love this.
The Flying Scotsman is coming to Train Sim World 4, and we have a scenario where players have the opportunity to attempt to recreate the awesome 1934 special test run, where the Scotsman clocked 100 miles per hour. As players achieve this astonishing speed, they are presented with sweeping cinematic perspectives of the loco hurtling down the line accompanied by a swelling, celebratory piece of music. It feels timeless and presents aspects of the main theme in new, exhilarating ways. I love it.
Okay, I'm really vibing with that. That's gonna be a lot of fun. That's gonna be like a full moment. Like you're gonna feel that swelling in your chest as you're getting closer and closer to clocking 100 miles per hour in this Flying Scotsman. You have the music happening in the background. I'm actually so excited for it. I'm pretty sure they also mentioned something like this happening for the Metrolink. I think that's what it's called, LA to Lancaster. So lots to look forward to there. All right, I actually had some questions. Train Sim World 2 Preservation Crew content. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Let's just read this. Uh-oh, this doesn't sound good.
We are sorry to say that, at this stage, we will not be releasing these updates to Train Sim World 2. It is a really tough decision to make, and we've not taken it lightly, but it has become apparent that, whilst we've always intended to release the content, for a number of technical reasons, it is causing more issues than it resolves with the way the builds now work.
What content? I'm confused. What exactly are they talking about specifically here that they can't release to Train Sim World 2? Are they talking about everything in this article? All the new features coming with Train Sim World 4? Some of them Train Sim World 3, but none of them Train Sim World 2? Is that what they're saying? I don't understand what they're saying here. They gotta be a little more specific. They kind of just like pop this up out of nowhere.
Rather than have good intentions but no substance, or worse, a scenario that means your game can't be played how you currently play it, we believe you deserve something concrete. There are many factors at play here. Among other things, various unforeseen technical hurdles have hit when putting builds together which jeopardized content players were already playing. We also want to focus on ensuring Train Sim World 4 is as good as we can make it for you all. We've always remained hopeful these improvements would be released, but sadly it's become apparent that it's not possible at this stage. We're extremely sorry it has taken this long to come to this conclusion.
Oh, is this about fixes they've promised to Train Sim World 2 roots or Train Sim World 2 players, and they're now just saying, sorry, it's actually not coming? Is that what this is about? Because this is a very cheap way of just like, sorry, screw you. That's what this is giving. Yikes. Ugh, these are paying customers. I don't like this response at all.
For Train Sim World 4, we're making it very clear what you can and can't expect from the remaining Train Sim World 3 game updates, and we hope you can accept our apology.
That's disappointing. This kind of breaks a lot of trust, honestly. I can see why a lot of players are struggling to trust this company. And, you know, they're always like, do I want to invest in this game? Do I want to give them my money? Because it's just like, if they make promises and then they don't follow through with them, you're not going to want to give them your money. That does not look good on them. That looks terrible on them. Like, I can see why they would put this statement out, but like, I still think it's a very poor statement. Yeah, there's no Preservation Crew content for Train Sim World 2. Yeah, so they're basically just abandoning that stuff then, right? That's what that means. And that's very disappointing because it just makes me think, well, if Train Sim World 5 is coming out next year, what the hell happens to Train Sim World 3 stuff? Is that gonna get abandoned too? And that's not even that old. Yikes, guys. Yikes.com. All right, we've got a timeline of TSW3 and TSW4 patches. Let's just jump right into this here.
TSW3 and TSW4 patch schedule.
This is the last of the updates.
In yesterday's roadmap article, we spoke about the day one content you can expect from Train Sim World 4. Today, we wanted to provide more detail on the future content TSW3 players can expect from us.
You'll get it, but you won't get it right away. That's what I'm expecting them to say next.
Please note that everything in the TSW3 column will also be available on day one for TSW4. Our intention is to release for TSW3 patches as soon as we can.
Yeah, we're gonna give it to you right away on Train Sim World 4 because we want your money. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. And you can't even make an excuse and say, well, it's not done, because if it wasn't done, why the hell is Train Sim World 4 getting it on the first day, you know? Okay, whatever. Let's keep reading.
More detail for the content of the patches will be confirmed upon release. Train Sim World 3 timeframe to be confirmed. New York Trenton new timetable.
Thank God.
Peninsula Corridor Baby Bullet services. Midland Main Line route improvement patch.
What happened with Peninsula Corridor Baby Bullet? What's that all about?
Tutorial fixes. DRA BR 143 intro HML route intro DRA 766.2 intro RT DBEBSFA intro LGV route intro SKA BR 442 tutorial SFJ intro MP 36PH 3C intro. Scenario fixes. DRA chemical plant zone HSC Altoona alignment HSC portage process ARL tis the season BPE cold as ice. Norfolk Southern Heritage Pack post-release improvements.
Didn't that just come out? What do y'all need to improve with that? That just came out.
Train Sim World 4 launch, TSW4 only.
Yeah, if you buy the game, you're getting the things early. All right. Oh, I'm so excited. They have it large. New York Trends, a new timetable. Okay, here's my question. I forgot to actually mention this the last time I recorded a video. New timetable, New York to Trenton. Is it a separate timetable when you click on the route and you click on service mode? Is it a separate timetable or are they replacing the original? And question, I guess for either of those possible scenarios, there's going to be new services. Are we going to lose all of our gold medals? Are we losing all our medals? Will we have to do them again? Will our medals stay? What's the deal with that?
Large, New York Trenton new timetable.
Thank God.
Large, Noviker Dresden TSW4 feature set. Medium, Southeastern high-speed patch.
Talked about that in the last part of this.
Middertalben BR 628. Small, Edinburgh Glasgow route improvements patch. Small, Bremen Oldenburg route improvements patch. Small, Peak Forest route post-release improvements patch. Small, Island Line patch. Small, Birmingham Cross City patch. DBBR 187 audio improvement. Train Sim World 4, projected after launch. Peninsula Corridor Baby Bullet services. Kolnachen new timetable.
Okay, I knew about that, but the Peninsula Corridor Baby Bullet? What's that about? What the heck is that about? I don't remember hearing about that. What's missing? What's changing? What's being updated here? That's it, guys. We made it through. Holy crap. I want to see how long I've been recording for. That's my question. How long have I been? 2 hours and 8 minutes. We got to chop this down. I wonder how much we're going to be able to chop out of this one. Lord, share your thoughts below, guys. Lots here. Where's the laugh button? I'm kidding. Or am I? Oh my gosh, lots to digest. We're going to be getting some more streams very soon. Share your thoughts. I've shared my thoughts throughout. I've got no more to say to you guys. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Head to the comments. I do have a lot of questions. If you guys have answers to some of my questions that I've had throughout this video, please leave them below. That's it. I'm going to end this video. Take care. So long and happy rail simming. Bye, guys.